Hello, my dears. Daniela here, and welcome to the Spa Marketing Made Easy podcast. If you are watching this rather than listening to it, you'll see that my intro, I am coming to you from my hotel room, which I thought was very appropriate for 2026 in general and for this interview in particular. Because in 2026, something that is very important to me, something that I am committed to is playing a bigger game, is stepping outside of my comfort zone. And I covered that in episode 465. If you want to go back and listen to what that means for me and the things that I'm specifically doing in my business, you can hear that in episode 465. But for today's interview, I invited my friend Beth, who is a media strategist who focuses on teaching visibility. I wanted her to come in and share her expertise for our spa owners, for our listeners, because getting out there, when we talk about being the mayor of your town and, showing up at a networking event can be uncomfortable. That can be pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. I wanted to have her come on to give us some frameworks, to give us some perspective shifts, and to give us some practical tips on how to actually do that. So it's perfect. She's hilarious. I adore her. We've been in a mastermind together for the past year and a half, meet every month. And so I get to hear her expertise all the time. I'm so blessed for that. So I wanted to share her with all of you. So let me go ahead and read her bio, and then we'll go ahead and play the interview. So Beth Niddick is a former network TV producer turned media strategist who teaches entrepreneurs how to turn every podcast interview into real revenue. She's the creator of the Mic to Millions system, helping experts go from visible to in demand with strategic storytelling and high conversion interview frameworks. Think Jersey Energy, producer level precision, and the receipts to back it up from MTV and NBC to Oprah Daily and Fast Company. When she's not helping clients land 10K clients from a single interview, she's building her own TV show and reminding everyone that visibility is cute, but revenue is hotter. I think you can tell from her bio just her type of energy and her personality. She's so much fun, and I hope that you enjoy this interview. All right, Beth, welcome to Spa Marketing Made Easy. I'm so excited to introduce you to our listeners. You have so much zest for life. You have this incredibly dry sense of humor that I adore so much. Every time we get on a call, I'm like, what is Beth going to say that's going to make me laugh? That's going to make me...
You're so good for my ego.
I'm here for it. So we were on a call a couple of months ago, and you were telling us about a talk that you did. Tell me the name of your talk.
Pretend you're from Jersey and get whatever the F you want.
Okay. And then I obviously was like, Beth, can you please be on our podcast? Can you pretty please be on our podcast? And because it is such a, in the spa space, and I think really I obviously identify with the spa space so much, but I think women in general, it's a scary thing to ask for what we want or what we need. We are people pleasers. It's ingrained in who we are to be a people pleaser. And that causes problems with our team. It causes problems with our marketing. It causes a lot of we become the bottleneck in our own business. And so the premise of that talk was really about how to be bold, how to get out there and push yourself outside of your comfort zone. And so today's conversation, we're going to jump into some kind of tactical around what I usually call being the mayor of your town. Mm-hmm. And, a lot of times I'm like, you got to get out there. You got to be in the community. You've got to be, showing up for BNI or Chamber of Commerce or Rotary Club or meetups or whatever you can do to have that face time and form real connections with others in your community, with other local business owners, with other people who are active in the community. So where do you want to start?
I think I love that resonated so much with you. And And those that are listening that are East Coast girls and boys and everything in between, right? Like there's just a different sense of vulnerability and assertiveness that I think I just grew up with. I also grew up in a house full of entrepreneurs. So asking for what you want is really.
But are you from Jersey or are you from New York? Because you're okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Not from Jersey. I was born 10 miles from where I'm sitting right now. So okay. I didn't go far. But I think it comes down to really understanding your client and also how to adjust your mindset and your thinking to know that you are the solution for their problem. I think we're so often looking at what we can do for them versus how we can adjust how they're thinking so that our solution, our spa, our anything becomes what they need without us having to convince them that.
Okay, so talk to me a little bit more about that, because in spa, when a patient comes in, our primary focus is education, right? We are saying, oh, you have a brown spot or a red spot, or you have lines or wrinkles. And let me educate you on the science of how we can address that, because they are coming to us in such a vulnerable state of sharing, these are the things that I don't like about myself. Yeah. And there's so many empathetic women and providers in our industry that we want to lift women up. We want to make them feel amazing about themselves. We don't want to be like, oh, well, we need some serious talks there. We need some filler here. We need some energy-based devices here. We want them to be like, yes, this is it. So when we're looking at like reframing, how do you position that in an industry like ours?
So I always think about it from I'm a media strategist. So I think about it from like a media point of view. And when you're thinking about what they need, right, you're talking about your offer, your treatment, the promos. It's not actually building trust so that when they're on your table, they know there's not a question of of who you are, what your credibility is. It's all happened before they got there. Because when we allow people to see or hear what we think, how you make decisions, when you say yes, when you offer a treatment to somebody, or somebody comes in and says, I want this treatment, and you're like, you know what, that's not for you, and for them to take your advice. So if the client is thinking, oh, she knows what she's doing before you've educated me on the table, because to be honest, sometimes I'm like, I don't just do it. Like, I trust you because I've already invested time and energy in picking the right person and seeing who they are. And my judgment is left up to them and not just their services. So when I think
the trust you're saying is built not in the consultation, but in beforehand, and which is why it's so important for the CEO to be out there being the mayor of the town and kind of being the face of the brand, so that by the time the patient comes to you, they're already clear that like, this is my place. I trust what they're going to share. So ultimately making the sales process easier transaction.
Yeah, all this stuff, right? Because media works when it does like the emotional and a little bit of the educational work before they walk in the door. If your media explains your philosophy, your process, your standards, then the clients arriving, they're not asking like, what do you think about this? Or it's, what do you recommend? What do you think we should be doing? And when that trust is built, the goal for media isn't always just visibility. It actually, I think what it can do for the listeners is really ease the conversation and have fewer objections up front, so they can just ingest what you're saying and then enjoy the treatment and be, less anxiety, but also open their wallets up a little bit more because they're more open to what you're offering.
So when we're looking at someone like me, like I was telling you before, that like I am a small group kind of person. I am not someone who thrives in big groups. So it can feel nerve-wracking to put myself out there and step out of my comfort zone and all of those things. So how do I protect my energy? How do I get out there if that is, how do I pretend like I'm from Jersey?
Two ways. So the first one is really figuring out what your platform is. If you're like, I'm not good at a networking event at a chamber of commerce or a BNI or something like that, then that's not going to work for you because you're not comfortable. But when you think about being in the media, it's a one-to-one interaction. Being interviewed for that local magazine or the local newspaper. And I know TV sounds scary, but when you're filming TV, it feels like it's the 10 people in the room. It
Mhm.
doesn't feel like it's going out. So finding that platform, that avenue that makes you the most comfortable, I think is the only way to move forward to actually let it work for you. And to being from Jersey is like, it's terrifying. Do it anyway. It's like,
You
it's
know,
all
I
terrifying.
our podcast, we have a very successful podcast. We have over 1 million downloads. We've been doing this for a long time, and yet I feel like I'm just here talking to my computer. It's and so when I go like this past weekend, I was at Circadia Connect. There were 500 people there, and there were so many incredible people that came up and gave me hugs and like, oh my gosh, I love your podcast. And I was like, oh my gosh, people listen to me when I'm talking. And it was such a like this eye-opening moment. So many of the ladies, like shout out to everyone that came and gave me a hug. They were like, oh, I listen to you when I'm doing my makeup or when I'm on my morning walk or when I'm on my commute. And it's such a different, I feel so comfortable and open and clear that I can share a lot of stuff when I'm just here looking at you in my
Right.
space. But when I'm in a room with 500 people, it makes me feel nervous, right? So it's really identifying like that comfort zone for yourself and saying, but I do think it is important, especially in today's day and age with AI, with a local business, you've got to get some face time in your community,
Yes.
no matter how nervous it makes you feel.
Right. And finding that right avenue for you or hosting events so that you're in control of the space. It doesn't matter, whatever it's going to be, right? It's a necessary evil to being able to get out there and do it. So, I have a local friend who's like a local food influencer, but she started a podcast and she started bringing on other small business owners in her area because that's how it made her comfortable to do it. So she found time to be able to create that for her. I always say it like this, like if you're thinking too much, you're not acting enough. Because if you're acting, then you're forgetting to think, right? If you walk into that room, you're there already. You're going to open your mouth and talk to somebody. And I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves in those environments as well as to perform or to be this bigger than life because you see the extrovert in the room. But I always think it comes back to goals. And definitely, I think being the mayor, I love the mayor of your town is media. But what is your goal when you're out there? Is it more awareness for you and your brand and your shop and your spa? Is it you're trying to create opportunity to bring clients in? Is it the credibility so that people know that you're the expert in your specialty? Instead of giving yourself this larger, right? I have to go meet people. If we can make it smaller, and talk about what we do really clearly and have that ask, which is connected to the goal really simply, I think it just makes it easier and takes some of the pressure off.
Yeah. And I think for spa, there's kind of a combination. Like we definitely want brand awareness that we exist, right? But we also are wanting to meet other small business owners that serve the same ICA as us, who are that could potentially be strategic partners for us, that could potentially co-host events. I mean, there's so many benefits, but that's like one of the toughest questions. You're like, well, how do I meet people? My kids have sports after school every single day, and I'm working a full-time, it's like a full-time job to run the business. And so like, how am I finding the time to do these things? And I think it's the opportunities that happen when you have that FaceTime. And if you are introverted, God bless the extroverts out there that are the ones that will just come up and say hi to you and do like, there are people there that will say, especially if you're at a networking event, like you do not have to be the busy bee that goes and talks to everybody. If that's like not your safe space, you can show up and guaranteed there's going to be someone that comes and talks to you.
100%. It's funny you say that because I'm an extroverted extrovert, and I have friends that invite me or buy me tickets to events so that they can go with me because they know I'm going to talk to everybody. So, finding that one friend or that employee that can come with you so you could be a team, it's just about doing it. And then once you're there, asking for what you want. Connecting with the people, having that conversation, being able to explain yourself really clearly so they understand. And again, it's not just about what you offer, but it's about how you decide things, how you say yes or no to things, like what you think and what your expertise is. Because I think sometimes we fall forward into like we'll talk about what the expertise is and not our philosophy behind why we do it or why it's beneficial or how it serves our clients.
So like I've been an esthetician for 20 years. Here's, instead of I believe in high quality skincare paired with energy-based devices because of XYZ, right?
Yeah, even going a little deeper than that, right? Like what's energy-based devices or it's more than I just want women to feel beautiful. I want them to be able to take chances in their life and risk everything or be able to like get on stage when they want to be sick in the corner before it starts, right? Which I feel like sometimes too. It's everybody. Yeah, I think it's more the philosophy behind why you started the business and communicating that, because in my town there's 3 big spas and I don't know the difference between any of them, but I've met the owners. I know who they are and what they're about, and that's the differentiator for other small business owners in your area so that they can really understand what you're about. If everyone offers the same services, but your philosophy around why you do what you do is different, that's going to make connections that, again, we'll get back to doing collaborations, doing referrals, people, doing events together and becoming, as you said, the mayor of your town.
So let's talk about television because you were saying, I know. You were saying that you feel like there's a big opportunity for local TV for brick and mortar.
Oh, yeah.
And so how do you even get started with something like that if you're a spa owner, esthetician, nurse?
Yeah, or anything. So that's how I got my start. I went on my town's television station. Sorry, my town's high school television station. And I was in the Facebook group, looking for guests. Like people are out there having those conversations. So everything from, if you're like, Beth, I'm never going on my town's television, whatever it is, start at the high school level. If you have a college near you, they all have college shows. I would say it's like putting in the reps before you get to the larger stations. So let's not even think about what it could be in being on a big stage. But if you're on your town's high school television station, the people in your town are watching, and it's a great place to build that. And if you don't know how, you go to their website and there's an email or there's a telephone number because they're all looking for guests. And one level up from that, like I live in North Jersey, there's a couple television stations here. I literally called the news desk and asked who I can talk to if I wanted to do a segment on their TV, on their show. It goes back to asking for what you want. It's not, people make it very difficult, but it goes back to look what social media is as well. If I'm a TV producer in my town, I need people to come on the show to have content. You're my content.
Right.
So why not you?
I think there's this like disconnect because I noticed, especially in the early years of having a podcast, people were like, "Oh my gosh, you have a podcast?" And I'm like, "Yes, and you can too." There's not a barrier to entry. It's like, you have to do the work to market it and to create something that's of value to your listeners. But it's not like you have to apply and say, so I think the key is like, what value can I provide to this news station? And in our community, the estheticians and spa owners that have been on TV in the past, they're talking about like lip scrubs for Valentine's Day, or like, how do we change our skincare routines through the different seasons, or like, so think about something that's like going to provide value to those people who are going to watch, and then pitch that thing, right? So are we just calling and pitching, or is there like a formal pitch process? Like how, I know like with the podcast, it's like every day there's all these AI pitches that I'm like, what's happening?
It depends on where you live on the show. I'm always a proponent of call. If you can find a number, make a phone call. Because I think about it this way: who's answering the phone? Usually a young person, maybe a year or two out of school, right? Then admin person, and enrolling them and helping you figure out who the right person is to talk to. So
Mm-hmm.
my advice would be like, hi, my name is Beth. I'm looking for the lifestyle producer. Who can I talk to? I'm a spa owner. I do X, Y, and Z, enrolling them in the idea. Again, you know what you're asking for. It always goes back to that question of like, what do you actually want? But they'll either tell you to email somebody, here's a voicemail, and then it's continuing until you get to talk to somebody. I actually talked to a client this morning that was pitching TV, and I was like, how many times did you pitch this month? And she said 2, and I said 6, because it's about follow-up, right? It's about getting in front of the right people and then doing a great job so you can be asked back. It's not as hard as it sounds, right? You do it every day in your salon. Why not do it in front of a camera so that the people in your town can get to know who you actually are, why you do what you do, and really be in on you, so they come in and say, hey, Daniela, I saw you on the high school show. I loved it. It was so great. I can't wait for my services. And that's what I've seen happen over and over and over again.
Well, and I think about the skincare studios that are focusing on acne and doing, educational talks or tips, and, something like that at the high school would actually be like ideal, right? To be able to get in if you're dealing with teenage acne and not like menopausal acne or something.
But we could use some help on that too. So I'm a mom of boys. And if somebody would have had some sort of video, my kids are graduating college, so they didn't have it back then. But I would love somebody to go in and show men and boys how to have a skincare routine, because most don't, right? And if you have a male acne facial, I know it's not the encompassing of what you do, but if I'm going to send my son to go get a facial, I'm going to probably come too. So it's thinking about it on a broader sense of what you're talking about. You don't always need to be talking to your exact client about their exact needs, thinking about the larger process of it and who's actually probably paying for the facial.
Yeah. So we, like when we're teaching your ICA, it's like because the brand that does everything is the brand that does nothing, right? So we want to make sure that we're really honed in, but 100%, like when we're doing the consultation, we're always thinking about the spouse or partner, about the children, right? Because we're still honing in on this one ideal client, but how can we serve the people in the immediate vicinity of who that person is? Because if you are serving moms, which a lot of people are serving moms, they have kids. And at some point they're going to have acne, and that, and it just depends on if that's like aligned with what it is that you want to do in your practice. But 100%, that can be another vertical of business that is just like connected on how you can go deeper with your existing patient base.
I totally agree. And it makes so much sense because it's broader than the conversation we're having in our marketing. Our marketing is all about letting people know who we are. When it comes to media, it's allowing people to know what we're about, what we think, how people misunderstand what we offer, and what the process is for clients to get success from it.
Okay, so what else am I not asking that's important for a brick and mortar business owner that is wanting to get media?
I think most people, especially in business owners, they're like, well, I have nothing to talk about, or what should I talk about? Or, what's my topic? I always think about, what are you already explaining to your clients every day that could work as a conversation? I think for spa owners, I was thinking was expectations, right? You spend all day long talking about results take time and maintenance and coming in for consistent services, and you can't rush better skin, right? But that exact explanation, the one you've said like 1 million times in consults, it's gold for media, and saying it publicly and saying it to the right audience so they can recognize themselves and come in already educated. Again, the consult's going to be easier and faster. You can probably upsell into other products, but you'll also be creating a relationship with that person so that you have a client for life.
I love that. So the message is get out there, put yourself out there, step out of the comfort zone. I mean, I filmed, I think our first podcast of the year, I was talking about the things that I was going to do that were outside of my comfort zone. The first
nice.
one was Circadia Connect, which was amazing. And I was so glad that I did it. But between now and April, I've got all kinds of things that I'm doing that are not in my comfort zone. And the joy, like, of giving somebody a hug that you know you impacted in their life in some way just from listening to the podcast, it was worth every moment that I felt like I was going to puke on stage.
Amazing.
You know, because it's just so nice to have those opportunities. And that's the same thing for our spas, right? Like, you as a spa are making an impact in that individual's life by allowing them to be calm, allowing them to breathe, allowing them to have a moment to themselves, allowing them to feel good about how they look. I mean, there's so many ways that you are impacting them and you don't even realize it. Like, you may realize it to a degree, but you're not realizing like how that is cascading down into the way that they show up as a mother, as a partner, as a friend, you know, in all of those different aspects. So entrepreneurship is such a gift. And I think it's okay and normal that there's parts that are not comfortable for us. That's 100% normal, but it's how can we have the strength to push ourselves out of the comfort zone to do those things, to then be able to form deeper connections and make a bigger impact. That was my takeaway from this conversation.
I'm so happy, and I appreciate, and I want to congratulate you, and like really being able to stand in how much impact you're making on strangers and get that hug after hug after hug. That had to be an amazing feeling, besides the nausea going away, but also just like how, you know, I
loved them. I loved meeting
like
every single person. I was just like, oh my gosh, like I just wanted to hear their story. I just wanted to hear, and like having a face.
Yeah.
You know, it was such a gift.
And when those hard times come and you don't want to, you know, those things that we always don't want to do or are terrifying or the next hard thing you need to do, now you can pull that feeling, you can pull that interaction. Because somebody said this a long time ago. I don't know. I wish I knew who said it. If anyone out there knows, please let me know. But they said that personal entrepreneurship is actually personal development on crack.
Okay. So I have a version of that. I say
it's my Jersey version.
Yes, mine's not the Jersey version. I always say that entrepreneurship is your greatest lesson in personal development apart from having children.
Oh, that's much sweeter than the way I say it.
That's the Maryland version.
It's fine. Because I think it's really about pushing ourselves and failing and getting back up and doing it again. And no matter what's happening or not happening, getting back at your desk, getting back on camera and doing all the hard things. I actually took a stand-up comedy class last year because I was like, I need to do something that's more difficult for me. You know, I can get up and just talk, but talking from a script and telling jokes and doing, you know, pushing myself out of my comfort zone in that way, so that when it came back to business and things were pushing back on me, I had that skill to say to myself or to experience for myself, like, I can do hard things. I'm capable. So those of your audience that's listening, that's like, I'm never doing TV. I don't want to be on camera. Let's take that fear-based reaction away and then really think about like what happened with you, Daniela, last weekend was like how you're impacting the people in your community, how your community is going to come into your salon or your spa and be like, I saw you on the high school. It was so amazing. I love when you said X, Y, and Z. That's what makes it worth it. I go on national TV, you know, I do New York TV all the time. I'm shaking before that green light goes on. Right. That morning, I'm like, why do you do this to yourself? Because afterwards, I'm so happy I did it. It was such a great experience. And then the reaction I get validates it and personifies it so that I can do it again.
And I think it's building resiliency.
Oh, yeah.
I love that, like, we can do hard things. Something that I love and I feel like is like a calling for me is to help women see how incredible they actually are. Because when a woman, and the guys too, we love you, but when a woman understands what she's truly capable of and believes in herself and sees herself in the way that others see her and know what is possible, that is the sparkle in her eye comes, and she like takes over the world. Like, women are so incredible in what they can do. And so I feel like if more and more women encourage each other and celebrate each other for doing those hard things and putting themselves out there and supporting and cheering when someone's trying something, even if it's not perfect, like, they're out there trying, they're out there pushing themselves, and that is such a beautiful thing. So, totally. It's okay to not be perfect at what you're doing. It's okay to be nervous. It's okay to like not have it all figured out yet, but like try, give yourself that gift.
I totally agree, because I feel like a lot of us believe that everyone else has it together. Everyone else, like, I'll tell you a quick story. So one of my first internships was for the Tonight Show in LA. And that was the summer.
Is that Jay Leno? Is that what the Tonight Show?
Yeah,
okay.
It was 95. And it was like, that was a summer. It was Tom Cruise, Tom Hanks, Arnold Schwarzenegger, like all these amazing people. And they would come off the set and say to, sometimes even me, and I'm like this, I was like the intern taking them to the car, but they would say it to their publicist, like, how was that? Was that okay? And you would think these A-listers who have been doing it forever would be confident in what they're doing. No one ever came off and felt great about what they did. No, because no one does.
I think even Oprah, I'm obsessed with Oprah. And
I love her.
She said the one question that like every single person asked after was, how was that? Was that okay?
Yeah.
Like, that's the first thing, like, they want to know.
All feel that way. And if you're doing something and you don't feel that way, or you're like, everyone else can do it better, I promise they can't. So if this conversation can inspire our listeners to just do one thing that's hard for them, that's maybe even terrifying them, and that could be going to a chamber event, or going to a networking event, or calling their local high school TV station, whatever it is. But I ask you to be in action. I ask you to share it with Daniela and I, so we can celebrate you and we can support you on that too. But this is a question that I think might be helpful, is a lot of people say to me, well, why me? Why am I the one to have this conversation with the world? And my response is, why not you? So when that gremlin comes in and tells you shouldn't, I want you to punch it in the face and tell them it was from Jersey, like a good Jersey. But no, but I really want
solid Jersey punch,
really Jersey punch. But I really want everyone to ask themselves, like, why not me? And when you can answer that question with like, yeah, why not me? There's no answer. Then let's go and let's do it.
That feels like the perfect place to wrap this up. So thank you. You're so incredible. I love talking with you.
I appreciate you.
Where can people find you and follow you?
I think the easiest way is Beth Neidick. That's NY, like New York Dick. Find me on Instagram. Send me the word Daniela, and I'll send you something that I just send my podcast listeners. Don't forget to like me while you're there and follow along for all you can learn about how to use media to actually bring in revenue.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Thank you so much, my dear.
Thank you.